So, Chris, how was Turkey?
Turkey, amazing, brother.
Gobble
Fucking
gobble.
amazing, bro.
Did you get to shoot around with the guys? Teach them how to do a little side step?
No, I didn't. We actually didn't get to go. Because I actually don't. They didn't play at home until like March. All their games are like away games
Mm.
and stuff. So we didn't actually get to go see like the facility or anything like that.
True.
Did you get to wear your jersey out there?
No, I did not. Neither game.
Did it fit
Neither
you?
game. Huh?
What
Did
jersey?
the jersey?
Oh,
I got him a
the
jersey
Raptors
for his
jersey?
birthday.
Yeah. No, it fit me. It fit me. It fit me.
Nice.
I just didn't bring it out there because I was like, oh, I just wouldn't want anything like to happen to it.
Damn. Look
Yeah,
at this
so it's
guy.
at home.
How
Like
was
you
the
get egged
quality,
or
though?
something? Like what were you worried about?
Yeah.
Imagine.
Fuck the Raptors! Just start
Fuck
throwing
them.
eggs. That'd actually be
Well,
jokes.
well, no, bro.
But
I
no,
signed a few.
how was the quality of the jersey? You like that?
It's good. Yeah, no, it was really good.
All right,
Nice.
shout out my guy, Jersey Shane.
Yeah,
Nice,
I might
nice.
have to order a couple more.
I'm the guy with the jerseys on the wall, but I haven't been given this link. Cool.
When's your birthday coming
Great
up?
connect. Great connect.
Yo, he delivered it too. He dropped it
Yeah,
off
he
for
hand
Chris.
delivered
Wow.
it to me.
Wow.
Bro,
Wow.
Yeah.
I sent him to Simcoe.
Touches.
I sent him to Simcoe, and he's like, yeah, he's not there. I'm like, okay, just drop it up at the front. He's like, nah, I don't want to drop it up with some random man. I'm like,
I like
if you
that.
don't mind.
I like
Shout
that.
out to my guy, bro.
Oh no, shout
That's
out the
care,
guy.
man.
Yeah, no, the guy
That's
was
care for
G.
sure.
He was sick.
All right.
Yeah.
We talked about the Turkish league, and I'm gonna bring up a number to you because it directly ties in with the NBA and what just happened. Obviously, we've been away
Yeah.
for 3 weeks. The busiest time probably in the NBA is the
Yeah.
time that we just had off. We got All-Star Weekend. It was obviously the 75th anniversary this year, which is pretty cool to see all the legends get together. We had trade deadline happen, and obviously the buyout that happened afterwards. But the one question I want to relate back to Turkey and bring it into the NBA is 14. The number 14.
Mhm.
I would be interested to see in a Turkish league game how many turnovers two players can accumulate in one game. Because last night the Los Angeles Lakers got their ass whooped by the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans Pelicans. Now I get it. They got CJ, but BI's been absolute ass since they got CJ. 30 points to the Pelicans. LeBron 7 turnovers. Russell Westbrook 7 turnovers. That's brutal, bro. That's brutal.
Pretty bad.
Against the Pelicans, bro? What? Devontae Graham? Come on. Come on. What's going on here?
Bro, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Honestly though, like I can't even compare Turkish league games to this because like some of these refs, I literally don't know what they're smoking before they watch some of these games because it's actually insane. Insane. Like I was talking to one of the girls over there, Shelby, she plays on their female team. Girl, 6'5", dominant center.
Short.
Just just before I left, she had
He
like a
said
monster
dominant
game.
center.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously.
she had a fucking she had a Kevin Love game, bro. She had like 22 points, 22 boards,
Damn.
fucking 2 blocks, like I think 4 assists, something like that, bro. But it's like she tries to play a little bit physical and like actually body these like other bitches, and the rest are like foul, foul, foul. She got fouled out. She got fouled out in
Wait,
like the fourth.
Chris, honest question here, and no disrespect to her. You think you got her in a one-on-one game?
Actually, we do have a bet. I was talking bad shit to her. We were like going back and forth, and I was like, "Yo, give me a year, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna play one-on-one."
Okay.
Yeah,
come on, bro.
Yeah,
6
so,
months.
no,
You need 6 months.
No, honestly, I think she'd probably eat me in the post. I ain't going.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
should plan for this C to do like a broadcast on the side. Like,
Oh,
the
bro,
Lob It
you
Up broadcast.
commentated.
Make our
Oh,
broadcast
bro,
debut.
next time, like, if this happens next time, I'll literally bring, like, I'll film it so that way
That would be
you
good.
guys
We
can
have
see
to.
the
We
little
have
segment.
to.
That would actually be jokes. All right, getting into this week's episode, welcome to the Love It Up podcast. We're your hosts, Tobias, Sivash, and Chris. Chris just gave his long-winded explanation about how Turkey was, how much better the Turkish league is, better than the Lakers organization. But to Sivash, how was your 3 weeks, buddy? How you feeling? And, we're going to get in. This is going to be a big episode. We're going to definitely get into the trade talks. But, now that it's been a week or so, 2 weeks since the trade deadline, and I'll ask the same question to you, Chris. How are you processing? How are you processing the trade deadline? The Bulls' lack of acquisitions. How do you feel going into the playoffs?
I feel good. I feel good. We're sitting second as it goes for the Bulls, but outside of that, I think it was a great trade deadline. We've talked about this before. I've said it's one of the most exciting time of the year for me, and I think it did pretty well as far as it goes for trade deadline. Outside of that, yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited for today's episode.
There was a lot of trades, and I feel like sometimes there can be uneventful trades, but I feel like a lot of these trades that happened, even the ones that we talked about in the last episode, the Norm Powell, and I think we talked about the Tyrese Haliburton. I don't know if we talked about Tyrese Haliburton or not, but a lot of those trades, have been impactful, and we'll see them not only for the season but for the future. But I guess let's start there. We'll start with the trade talks. We'll start with that conversation because that's what happened first. So I do have a page of the trade tracker up. We talked about the Caris LeVert trade. That was the one that I was trying to think of. I can't remember if we talked CJ. Do you guys remember if we talked about the CJ move to New Orleans?
I think we kind of discussed it before it happened.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You had mentioned that, actually. CJ going there. And I love the fit. I think it's been awesome. I feel really bad for Dame. I think he put out a tweet. He's like, damn, like he's really not coming back. Like, he saw CJ's his best friend. It's like when you're in grade 4 and your teacher's like, oh, okay, I'm going to split you guys up into pairs, or I'm going to split you guys up into threes. And it's like, if us 3 are best friends in the class and they're like, we're going to split you up into pairs, us 3 are freaking out because now one of the boys is going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same way Dame's feeling because he's still in Portland and he wants to be in Portland. That's what he said. This is his decision. But eventually, his best buddy got moved. So.
Did you guys see CJ's Players Tribune article that he posted?
I saw.
After the trade?
No.
I subscribed to it. I haven't read the article yet, but I did see that he did one. Did you check it out?
I just want to mention the last part of it. This went around Twitter a lot, and I think it's so it really shows how much he cared. At the end, he talks about how they tried their best, but at the end of the day, it's basketball, and he ended it with, "And God damn it, Jennifer, we tried."
Yes, yeah.
And if nobody gets that reference, that comes from a time where this lady named Jennifer on Twitter was going at CJ, going at the Blazers, and CJ goes, "Damn it, Jennifer, I'm trying to get the wins."
Mm-hmm.
So for him to end it that way, it was a little bit a sensational moment.
I'll read the trade-off here, but the Portland Trailblazers in the 2010s and now moving into the 2020s, except the team that I'm going to mention or compare them to, is they've made a change. They made that change early on. They've suffered the same trauma that a team like the Clippers have faced. A tough Western Conference for a decade. You got a team with the Golden State Warriors. You got a team with now the Los Angeles Lakers. You got the Mavericks. You got the Utah Jazz. You got now the Phoenix Suns. And Portland was, again, one of those teams that were always consistently in the playoffs, just like the Raptors were consistently in those 2010s. You're always counting on the Raptors to make the playoffs. You're always counting on Portland to make the playoffs. And you know what? Similar to the Raptors, they got to a certain point where they just kept hitting a bumper. We can't beat LeBron. We can't get past LeBron. We can't do this. They would get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think Portland ever got to the Western Conference Finals, correct?
They did.
They did. So, but same issue. Steph. They held on for way too long, and now here we are a decade later, and they're still trying to do it, and now there's still Steph and other teams that are competing. Mm-hmm. At some point, they needed to make this move. At some point, they needed to change the culture of the team because they had kept it for 10 years, and it wasn't doing anything. You can't stay in purgatory like Orlando did, like Indiana was for some time, like Sacramento has been for basically their entire existence. So, I'll break down the trade here. The official trade is Pelicans get CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and, quadruple, whatever the number is, zeros, Tony Snell. This guy doesn't put up a single stat anytime. Blazers get Josh Hart, which I think is very underrated. I love Josh Hart. Obviously, he comes from that Lakers organization. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, shout out Canadian, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin. Thomas Satoransky, former Chicago Bull, who I believe has now been bought out. and DD, whatever that name is, irrelevant. They also get a first-round draft pick that's protected in 2022, a 2026 second-round pick, whichever is better between the two teams, and a 2027 second-round pick, whichever is better between the two teams. So, like, is Portland's Trailblazers still interim? Have they hired their GM? Is their GM still interim?
I would say so. I think they haven't hired him officially because the last GM there was a lot going on with him, and once they fired him, I think they're going into a better direction. But they could still hire someone else. I think it's interim right now.
Well, I don't think they'll be hiring him. Whoever's making these trades should not. If they would potentially be hired, they should not be hired. Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how did they make this trade? Because I'm thinking about it now. Alexander Walker didn't even end up staying with the Trailblazers. He got moved to the Jazz. That's probably the best piece out of there. I don't know, man. Like I actually just don't know what the Trailblazers are doing. Do you guys have a comment on that?
No, not really. Actually, I was gonna say this. It was kind of funny. Like I was reading it. Did you see? I think it was what Larry Nance and Josh Hart just straight up swapped houses.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I was just like,
Yeah, that is pretty
bro.
cool. They should do that more often. Like, why not?
I don't know. Like exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you're just going to another team and someone else comes like, hey,
Especially if there's uncertainty on if you're going to stay there. Like, if I'm moving to
exactly.
Portland and I'm unsure, like, if I'm Josh Hart and I'm unsure I'm going to stay there, I don't really want to go buy a house or go through the process of looking for a house and renting a house. I'll just take this house that Larry Nance has got.
Exactly.
Steve Ash, comments?
No, I mean when we talked about it before on our last episode when we were kind of discussing the idea, I liked it for both sides. I think, as you mentioned, the Blazers came to an end that the era had to end. Like it couldn't go further than that. They reached their peak, which was the conference finals in 2019, and they got swept by the Warriors. So at some point you got to make a change. I wish they did it earlier because Dame is now going to his early 30s, and for them to do a quick rebuild while this guy is in his 30s, I'm not hopeful for that either. But for the other side, for the what did they call it? The Pelicans, I liked it too. We will see how that's going to play out. We're going to talk about Zion a little bit later and the
I was gonna
drama
say,
around
yeah.
that. But
Yeah, I'm
I liked
interested
it.
because, I mean, I don't think it's not like a sexy big three by any means, but I like it. I like how it works. I love CJ. I think he's been a great addition to that team. Like I said, I think BI still needs to figure out his role now because he's been that guy in New Orleans. Now he's got another guy that's, maybe of equal level to him. So they got to figure out how that's going. But CJ's been balling out. I've won a bit of money off of him. So I like the trade for CJ. We'll move on to the next trade, which I think is probably the most surprising trade, and it happened before the trade deadline, the same day as this Trailblazers one. Probably the most surprising trade of the whole trade deadline, simply based on the fact that this guy wasn't supposed to be traded. He was supposed to be the only guy that was protected on the team. I don't understand what Sacramento was doing, but the Pacers get Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, and another Canadian boy, Tristan Thompson, and the Kings get Domantas Sabonis, Justin Halliday, who's not even vaccinated, so he can only play in half the games, just like Kyrie, and Jeremy Lamb, as well as a second-round pick in 2023. So
Can't Kyrie play now because of the New York mandate stuff? I think
not yet. It hasn't been fully pushed through yet. So that's what I thought as well, because I'm in fantasy. I'm always interested in this, but I read something. I didn't read into the article, but I read something that they might change the mandates in New York City, and Kyrie still not be able to play home games, which I don't understand.
Which is just stupid.
It's
like,
dumb.
I just don't get it.
The whole thing is dumb. How does Bradley Beal, not vaccinated, come into New York and allowed to play in New York, but Kyrie, who lives in New York, can't play in New York?
Adam Silver said that. It's just stupid that like someone else can come in and play, but the guy that's playing for that team at the home games can't play. It's just stupid.
I understand why, like, they're a citizen of New York State, like, blah, 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 but, like, does it make sense that other people can come into your vicinity? I don't know. This is not a whatever podcast. But how do you feel, Siavash, about the Pacers getting Tyrese, but more so interested how you feel about Sabonis and his fit with the Kings?
Let me get started with that. Sabonis is great. Sabonis is a subpar all-star player. He has been an all-star before. He's a top 25 player in this league. No question about it. He's actually very underrated in my opinion. But
I feel like you have something to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a lot to say. I got a
No,
lot to say. And you know this
You got 3 weeks.
organization.
You got 3 weeks worth of stuff to say.
Oh yeah, buddy. And you know this organization. You know how I feel about them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to an episode of the Old Man and the Three, the JJ Redick podcast, where they had CP3 on there, and he talked about this, and I like this nugget, and I think it relates to this conversation. Chris Paul said, "Just know that the team that drafts you is the only team that will ever have loyalty towards you." Meaning, the team that drafts you is the only team that's always that might have a little bit of loyalty, like, oh, we just drafted this guy. How many players do we know of that they get traded in their rookie contract?
Yeah. Very few.
The Kings, man. Tyrese Haliburton was committed. It's going around consistently that this guy was committed. He was there. He didn't care about the history. He wanted to make a change. He fell to them. I don't remember what pick was it, Tobe. You were a big fan
disgustingly.
of him at the time.
14. 14. I was screaming this guy's top 5. This guy, I'll tell you right now, and I will make a futures bet, and I will bet you $5,000. $5,000. Demontis Sabonis is good. Again, all-star level.
Good.
Tyrese Haliburton will be all-NBA player.
I'm there
Not
with
even
you.
a question in my mind.
But that's the thing. You trade a guy that's playing his second season with you, who's committed to you, for a guy
He's committing to changing the culture. Like you said, a fucking brutal culture. This guy wanted to be there.
He came in and played behind De'Aaron Fox. He put his ego aside. Anytime De'Aaron wasn't playing, this guy was playing, he was putting up solid numbers. His stats, if you go into the advanced stuff, he's one of the best players that's playing the game as a second year player. That part, and this is the other part. And he's been a recurring guest again on the JJ Redick podcast. And I saw a clip of him being on there last week and talking about it. If you ever saw this guy talk, he was almost had big smile. And he has big gums too, so the smile looks bigger. But but bro,
Are you attacking
the way
his gums?
nah. But yo, the way this guy was sitting there, just I've never seen this guy so like depressed, just sitting there like talking about this, and you can see it affected him. That like, yo, I cared about this, but they treat me like that on my second year. I'm not even a bad player. You guys have had Marvin Bagley third up for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting traded? All right. All right. That's the energy I got from him, and I'm excited. I want to see Tyrese go all out.
I have 2 comparables that are actually directly with your teams, both of your teams, that reminds you of the situation. The Derrick Rose thing, yeah. It's because Tyrese was crying, bro. Like, he was, like, very upset. And Derrick Rose is to a different case because Derrick Rose was there for obviously a lot longer in Chicago than Tyrese was. But it's still the loyalty and not even the loyalty that the team gives to you, but the loyalty that you give to the team and the organization. And then for them to change it like that, again, when they told you they weren't going to trade you, when they made you a part of the organization, it reminds me of DeMar DeRozan in Toronto. And me going back to the point where I said, Tyrese Haliburton wanted to change the culture. He wanted to stay here in Sacramento. He was going to do whatever it takes. When no one wanted to come to Sacramento, Tyrese Haliburton, when DeMar DeRozan consistently stayed in Toronto and wanted to be in Toronto, was trying to get people in Toronto, and he wanted to be a part of the culture, they moved him. Again, you guys got a championship out of it, so it worked out, but that's part of the game, unfortunately. There's the most loyalty held in the game is held by the players to the organization versus the organization to the players.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
This is one part I want to disagree with, and I'm going to throw it back to Chris in a moment. Pause. Those guys, both D Rose and DeMar, they had ran their course as players on that organization.
That's true.
D Rose, a legend in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, the injuries were all over the place. Imagine, he was injured in 2012. He got traded to the Knicks in 2016. They gave him the time. They gave him the money. Hey, rehab. Do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. With DeMar, he was there for almost 10 years.
Yeah. There
was a point where, again, Isiah had to pull that trigger, and everybody knows how that went. But Chris, like, you can talk about it, how he had changed the culture. They had given him the chances. And he was traded for a guy. I mean, the trade was a robbery, but he was traded for a guy, but the culture was still there.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Like, again, like I remember everybody saying like how screwed over like DeMar felt by like the organization. Because like you said, like he was assured. Like I think he was even on a phone call with Messiah at one
Masai
point
told him.
prior to. He's like straight up said, "We will not trade you. Don't worry." And then end call, by the way, include him in the deal. Get him
Yeah.
out of here. You can
Yeah.
flip it for a championship again. Took a risk paid off, got the championship. But it does suck. I was like, DeMar was that like sacrificial lamb to like get that. And he did spend so much time in Toronto building like that culture of having people come in, wanting to stay, people, and then you had him and like, Kyle Lowry just being like so like close and like well knit and forming that like good unit between the two of them, which made people like, oh, maybe Toronto's not so bad. Maybe we can put up with the cold for like this kind of stuff. But then you said, they consistently get to the finals, and it's just that roadblock of like LeBron.
You know
So
what
it's
the
like at
really
some point something gives.
You know what the really unfortunate thing about all that is, and I didn't even think about it until I just heard it on a podcast. I think it was
Hmm.
the Bill Simmons podcast. That year that they made that trade, like that summer that they made that trade, do you want to know what else big happened in the league?
Oh, didn't LeBron leave?
LeBron went to the West. So
Yeah.
who's to say we're seeing DeMar? And again, this is 4 years removed, like right now from back then, but we're seeing DeMar ball out right now. The issue in the East that they always had was LeBron. LeBron leaves. They're right there. They meet Golden
Yeah.
State. Golden State injures two of their big players. Who's to say if they didn't try one more year,
Yeah.
who's to say they wouldn't have won it with DeMar? And the narrative around the Raptors and the narrative around DeMar DeRozan's legacy is completely different. Completely different.
As much
Not
of,
saying it would have happened, Steve Ash, because I see the hesitation in your face, but just it came to to my
Yeah,
to
it's
my
a
mind.
good
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I like that theory. The only reason I would say that's different is because the way Kawhi went nuclear against the
Yeah,
Sixers
sure.
in that series,
Yeah.
and then the series right after the Bucks, it was two back-to-backs where, I mean, the Sixers, I was rooting for them because of my guy Jimmy and Embiid. So them losing on that final shot, and then with the Bucks were up 2-0. I remember seeing Chris at the time talking all that shit and being like, yo, the Raptors are done. For them to come back off of that and be able to go to the finals, and again, those injuries aside, they still had to fight. Like, we can't discredit that
Mhm.
championship, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think I like DeMar, but I think Kawhi is just a tier above him with what he brings.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right too, and just based on you speaking, it kind of came to my mind. They weren't getting Kawhi level defense from DeMar, and
No.
just to your point, going against Joel and then going against Giannis, you needed a guy that can defend like Kawhi. DeMar's not
Like-
guarding Giannis.
Like a
Like, it's not-
100% agree with you. 100%
Yeah.
agree with you because that's my thing too. It's like yes, like I love DeMar and like offensively great player, but then it's
Yeah.
like you get that offensive power with Kawhi, but you also get that stopping power too
Totally.
with Kawhi because it's like DeMar's not stepping up to like you said to check Giannis, to check Embiid, so it's like
Jimmy, Ben
Yeah.
Simmons.
So quickly, just going back to that Sabonis trade, I know we kind of went off on a bit of a
Yeah.
tail. I like the addition for Sacramento to get Sabonis again, giving away Tyrese Haliburton. Stupid mistake, but I like how Sabonis has fit into their team so far. And oddly enough, I've been hearing rumors potential of them making the play-in, just based on how they're playing and with that new three that they have in Fox, Barnes, and Sabonis, and even Davion Mitchell as well off the bench has been a nice addition. We were just talking about defense. Go
Quickly,
ahead,
I just want to quote Richard Jefferson by saying the play-in is not the playoffs.
Yes,
Making
correct.
the play-in doesn't mean shit if you can't make the playoffs. So the Kings throwing their young player away just to make the play-in,
Yeah.
they still got to go to the playoffs if they want to bring that drought to an end.
And
we gotta see it.
and at the end of the day, I don't know how many years they've missed the playoffs for. It's
Over
enough,
15.
but yeah, if you make the play in, like let's just say you don't get to say, oh, we ended our streak, we ended our playoff streak, our playoff
No.
less streak. No, you didn't make the playoffs. Like you made the play in, but that's not the playoffs. You lost. So, okay, moving on to the next one. This is an irrelevant one. It's Okapala going to Thunder, so we won't really discuss that one. Do we want to talk about the 3-team swap when Alexander Walker went to the Jazz. Joe Ingles went to the Blazers, and Satoransky went to the Spurs. Nothing really to chat about there. If you want to speak on it, Sivash, go ahead.
I think we talked about it with Joe Ingles' injury and him being on a contract year. They were definitely looking to move him, and him and Elijah Hughes were moved in that trade. I think, what's the guy's name? Nicole Alexander. I think he's a good pickup for the Jazz, but outside of that, not really a significant move.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll move on to one of our trades here. Chris, Raptors get Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a second-round pick in exchange for Goran Dragic and a first-round pick in 2022. And Drew Eubanks, I believe they bought out as well, or they waived him.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they parted ways.
So how do you feel about this trade, Chris, as a Raptors
fan? Honestly, I don't hate it. Give me 1 second. Let me just look it up again.
I would.
You hate it?
If I were you. If I were you, I would not be a fan of this as a Raptor.
I mean, it's why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because Thaddeus Young. What?
Sure. Why would you not like that?
Yeah,
what are you getting?
He's like a veteran power forward / center.
Dude, what? Have you seen Thaddeus Young this year? He's not been playing. He's not playing for the Spurs.
He's
hardly been playing.
Yeah.
What's that?
Listen, he was injured for a little bit, but that aside.
But I promise you, because he's not been playing, or he's been playing very low minutes prior to the injury, because he had a stint when Jakob Poeltl was out, but other than that, it's been, again, Drew Eubanks and Jakob Poeltl running the center and the big in San Antonio.
Chris, I'm going to ask you this while we're on this conversation. As a Raptors fan, do you think you would have needed a little bit of more playmaking, a little bit of more leadership on that court for that trade that you guys had?
No. I don't think we need any more playmaking or leadership.
Okay, then it's a bad trade, I guess.
It doesn't make sense. I understand the fluidity that they're trying to do in positionless basketball. This is another 6'9". They have 85 6'9" forwards that can play three positions. But I don't see how this is a good trade. Again, you were gonna get rid of Goran Dragic anyways, so you wanted to try to get something back, but you gave up a first-round pick and Goran Dragic to essentially get a second-round pick. That's how I'm seeing it, because Eubanks was waived, and I don't know what Young is doing for you. And I wonder how many years he has left on his contract.
I think he has 1 or 2 more years.
He's
but
33 years old.
Yeah.
Look, Thad Young was a great leader when he was playing for the Bulls. He was good friends with Zach LaVine. I think his leadership and his off-ball leadership, I think, is going to come into effect for you guys big time. Look, Nick Nurse is a great coach. And to be able to have a player like that young who can see the court as well as a coach on your team, it's going to be great. I wish we kept him on that trade that we sent him for DeMar to the Spurs. I wish we could have kept him, but
yeah, because he's not been doing really anything this year. Because I remember when he was with the Bulls, he was nice with the Bulls, but he's been irrelevant with the Spurs. That's why that trade that you made with the Spurs, you won easily because Thad Young's done nothing.
Listen. DeMar, of course, by the way, DeMar is great, but Thad Young, I would have still loved to keep him on our team. Especially, look at the playmaking we do have with Vooch, Lonzo, Caruso has some playmaking in him, Kobe. If we had Thad Young right there with those guys, I would have liked that a little bit better.
Thad Young is a 34-year-old on an expiring contract. He does not have a contract next year.
Okay, that's actually not that good of a trade now if he's on expiring.
Yeah, that's why I don't like. If it was just Goran Dragic, whatever. It's just swaps of guys that aren't playing, cool. But you give up a first. That's where I'm like, whoa. I don't, and it's this year's first.
Yeah.
And
I thought they got more back though.
Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a 2022 second-round pick. So you swap your first-round pick with a second-round pick. That's it.
We'll pick up somebody good in the second round. We always do.
They always do anyways.
They always do.
Okay, moving off that. Let's just touch on this quickly. The Pacers get Jalen Smith in exchange for Torrey Craig. That's a Suns-Pacers deal. I just want to speak on this with Jalen Smith, goggles guy. Chris Paul has increased his value just based on the leadership that you were talking about before with Thaddeus Young on the court and his ability to get everyone involved and just make players better. So they got Torrey Craig, who's a great defender for them, a great wing defender, and some cash considerations in the future.
Quick note about that. Jalen Smith, another example of bad management. The guy was a rookie last year, and they could have accepted his 2-year team option that every rookie gets if they're a first-round rookie. And they turned that down, and they traded him. Another bad example of this team, led by Robert Sarver, just trying to save money in the stupidest places, when this guy hasn't even gone to development edge that he could have gotten into.
No, Jalen Smith went to the Pacers from the Suns.
That's what I'm saying, though.
You're saying the Suns made a bad decision?
They turned down his 2-year team option, and then they traded him. For a guy who was on their team last year, Torrey Craig was on their team last year. It's just, man, Robert Sarver just keeps trying to save money in the stupidest of places. You talk about, like, legit, this is a...
Yeah, like DeAndre Ayton could be going through this same situation.
But that's another one where they're just waiting for the offseason to be able to match some kind of offer for him instead of just giving him the money that he deserves. Like, DeAndre Ayton is a top 10 starting center in the league.
Yep. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they won't just pay DeAndre Ayton? I don't get that.
The only explanation, and everybody around the league has this idea, is that Robert Sarver is a cheap dude.
Just cheap.
That just doesn't want to pay their players.
But
like that whole Jalen Smith stuff, like, how do you not accept the players who you picked on the top lottery pick, and you don't accept this 2-year team option that's not for a lot of money, and see how he develops? A lottery pick, you turn it down and then you trade him?
It's obviously worked out, but going back to my initial take when it initially happened, if this guy's cheap, why did he pay $50 million basically to Chris Paul to play for 2 or 3 years? Like, that's fucked. If he's that cheap and he's paying a 37, 36-year-old guy and he won't pay a top 10 center. Anyways, it's worked out well for them. Unfortunately, Chris Paul's injured again, but
again, oh my god,
yeah, the Suns are in trouble.
He was
we'll
playing
get to
the
them,
All-Star with that injured hand.
Yeah, the Suns are in trouble, bro. I'm telling you right now. They've played 3 games without Chris Paul. One they were neck and neck with OKC. Eventually, they figured it out in the fourth quarter. They just lost to, I think, the Pelicans, and then they just lost to another team as well. But the Utah Jazz. But Chris Paul is obviously the MVP of that team, and now with Devin Booker being the guy, he's got to absorb Chris Paul's game and stick with his own game. So they're in trouble, I think. Montrezl Harrell going to the Hornets for Vernon Carey Jr. and Ish Smith. I like Montrez there. Montrez obviously former Clipper, undersized in my view, but a great rebounder and kind of maybe fits that mold of the Hornets team. I know Steve, actually, we were talking before about Miles Turner going there, but let me know your thoughts on Montrezl Harrell in Charlotte instead of Miles Turner.
I think we talked about it before on our last episode before the trade deadline, and I think the consensus between you guys was that they should wait for the offseason to be able to get somebody young, either through the free agency or off the draft. My opinion was that they should try to get somebody right now, if they can get him for cheap. And Ish Smith, great bench player. The other gentleman, I'll be honest, I haven't
Vernon
heard
Carey
much about
Jr.
him.
He's a former Duke player. He played the center position, but he's
what year is he in?
The same. He's I think he's 2. He might be 3, but honestly, very similar mold to Montrezl Harrell, an undersized guard that's good at rebounding, or undersized.
Yeah, get somebody with LaMelo right now so they can get him comfortable, and LaMelo can actually do his thing better. But at the same time, they've been losing a little bit, so we'll see how it's going to play out. I like the trade for the Hornets. So
you know what I like about the fit about this trade is Harrell and the young guns of Charlotte, because Harrell's a very high energy guy. He pushes the tempo and the pace a lot, so I think with a bunch of young guns like LaMelo and Terry and all those boys, I think
baby daddy,
it'll fit well. Yeah, it'll fit well. Okay, moving up to this is honestly just a weird trade of a bunch of it's the island of misfit toys. That's what this trade is. Bucks get Ibaka in a 4-team trade, so the 4 teams are Bucks, Clippers, Kings, and Pistons. So the Pistons get Marvin Bagley III from Sacramento. Kind of funny because the situation that we were just talking about with Tyrese Haliburton, not letting him grow, not letting him try to get in the system, They did the absolute opposite with Marvin Bagley. They held on him for too long when they should have got rid of him in the second year and should have kept on to Tyrese Haliburton. Kings get Dante DiVincenzo, which is actually ironic because he was supposed to be moved 2 years ago for Bogdan Bogdanovic when Bogdan was supposed to go to Milwaukee, but he ended up going to Atlanta because the trade got vetoed. So he ends up in Sacramento. Josh Jackson from Detroit goes to Sacramento, and Trey Lyles, another Canadian, goes to the Kings. The Clippers get Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and some other Russian guy. And the Bucks get Serge Ibaka, 2 second-round picks, and cash considerations.
Listen.
Where do you start? Like, I don't know. It's a misfit.
I'll just give
bunch.
you where I start is that the Kings, that's a good trade for them. Giving out Marvin Bagley, getting Trey Lyles. I like Trey Lyles, Kentucky guy, good player. DiVincenzo, man, like I think he was playing for Villanova a few years ago, and they won the championship with him.
Yeah.
Then he was with the Bucks. He's a good defender, good rebounder. He hasn't been playing his best, but he's coming off an injury. Mm-hmm. And the third guy, Josh Jackson, he was a top 5 pick back with the De'Aaron Fox draft, the 2017 draft, and he's been okay, but having him on the team as well, I think it's not a bad trade for them.
2 things. I think Dante DiVincenzo is nice because he kind of slides into that Buddy Hield spot. Obviously, Buddy Hield is over in Indiana now, but just the 3 guy, you know what I mean?
I forgot they traded away Buddy Hield too. These
right?
fucking idiots, man.
Yeah, I know. The funny thing about Josh Jackson, I'll be honest. I boost myself a lot when it comes about drafts and talks and picks and all this stuff, and I feel like I can knock down, the top 10 or whatever. Not with Josh Jackson. I said that boy was a top 3 pick. Nope. I said Tatum should go number 1, but I said Josh Jackson was top 3. No, he's not top 10. What's that?
Who did you have at 2? If you had Tatum. And
what draft was that the Tatum draft?
2017, the Zoe Fultz, De'Aaron Fox.
It was Tatum because I had Tatum 1 because he's Duke. And then I think I had Zoe. I bought him to the hype of UCLA. I liked Zoe. I thought he was a really good passer. But I had Jackson 3rd. I was like, this guy's got great dog energy. This guy's unreal. No, he's not. It was so bad. Drafted by, I think, Phoenix, goes to Detroit. Just a bum. Yeah.
No, I was almost out on him when there was news that he got kicked out of like a music fest. I was like, all right, man. Like, you're too young to be like starting trouble. It was like the whole Okafor situation all over again where Okafor was fighting somebody in Philly in his first season. It's like, all right.
That's true. Yeah, and then with the Clippers, I think it's all just those were all buyouts. I liked the Semi Ojeleye if they wanted to keep him, but I think they just bought him out. But Serge Ibaka going to the Bucks is also interesting. If he can stay healthy and they can put him in a nice role, I like that for them in the playoffs especially. I like Serge Ibaka there.
Listen, bro, I don't want to jump over your segment, but let's get to the meaty stuff. Let's get to the
meaty
trade.
stuff. I know. We're getting with all these little tinkering ones, and nothing's really exciting. But there is the trade at the top, and the big
Bucks?
trade.
The Bucks and Nets, maybe.
The trade that we were all looking for. The trade that we were all waiting for. I wish there was like a really shitty trade and I can just like spoil it, but of the trades that are left, there's no shitty trades here, so I can't.
I mean, you could have went with
you know
the
what?
Dallas
Actually,
Wizards
the
one.
trade that I was looking for, the trade that I've been preaching for the past year and a half, KP finally gets traded away from the Dallas Mavericks and go to the Washington Wizards.
I forgot about that too.
Thanks for letting me talk about this one first, Seabash. Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans goes to the Mavericks in exchange for KP. Now, it's funny, because if you remember, Chris and Seabash, either last episode or 2 episodes ago, we were talking about possible options for Russell Westbrook. Both KP and Davis Bertans came up in that conversation because of their contract. Ironically, they just get swapped for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Mavericks still find a way to keep a white forward on their team. They just traded Kristaps for Davis Bertans. They literally have the whitest team. I promise you, you cannot find a whiter team than the Dallas Mavericks.
Nah, the Pacers might have him beat. Come on, Indiana.
Yeah, come on now.
Indiana? I don't know.
Yeah, because they just traded away Tristan, right? So
and they just traded away Sabonis, so they don't have him anymore.
So some melanin gone.
But yeah, I think that's good because they finally got it done with. I don't know how Dinwiddie fits in. I'd be pissed if I'm Luka because now what the fuck am I working with? But well, let's just talk about it. James Harden and Paul Millsap go to the 76ers in exchange for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. One in 2022 and one in 2027. Chris, who won? How do you feel? How does this impact these two teams going into the playoffs?
Honestly, it's like I feel like both teams kind of won in their own right. I feel like, I wouldn't say necessarily both teams won, but I feel like players won. Like, I feel like James Harden won. I feel like Ben won. Ben won because now he's on a team where it's like, you know what? This guy does not have to worry about shooting. He can just play his game, do the fuck whatever he wants to do. Worry about Kyrie bringing him the ball. Worry about KD shooting, all that stuff, and Ben can just get back to just playing. And now James Harden can go to, Philly, do his thing. He's not worrying about drama between him, that weird whatever love triangle that was between KD, him, Kyrie, all that shit.
Yeah.
And he can just focus again on ball and work with Joel, because Joel's already been performing like super well. So now Harden's just gonna add to that, and it's like, man,
It should. Yeah, should.
but I think it's gonna do well.
I've watched them and they're really good. It's a very scary, like very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I wonder how long it might last, though.
Oh,
Let's look at the tale of James Harden's career.
Like this.
OKC, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. Eventually, based on money, based on position, based on we gotta move pieces.
Yeah.
James Harden goes to Houston. Houston brings in Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard and James Harden. Boom, boom, boom. Nope. Houston brings in Chris Paul. Chris Paul, James Harden. Let's go. Great combo. Great backcourt. Nope. Okay, swap Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul. Russell Westbrook and James Harden back together. 2 MVPs? The tempo will be crazy. Nope. Let's move off of that. Okay, so now we're gonna move James Harden because James and KD are really trying to push to get James to Brooklyn. He could go to Philly, he could go to Miami, but it's KD and James Harden together again? This would be crazy with Kyrie. What? Nope, didn't last. Last a year and a half. And now he's going to Philadelphia with Joel Embiid. So let's go back again. KD and Russell. Who owned the team in OKC? KD, Russell, or James?
In
that
OKC?
era. In that era.
Russell.
KD. I would say it was KD's team.
KD, Russell.
Goes to Houston. That's James Harden's team. That's James Harden's team. Dwight? Nope. We're gonna get rid of Dwight. We're not getting rid of James Harden. We're gonna get rid of Dwight. Chris Paul? Nope. We're gonna get rid of Chris Paul. We're not getting rid of James Harden. James Harden's our guy. Russell Westbrook? Nope. Getting rid of Russ. Goes to Brooklyn. Well, we're gonna get rid of James Harden. KD's our guy. This is KD's team. Whose team's in Philly? Who owns Philly right now? That's Joel Embiid's team. That's the process. Joel owns Philly. So again, it looked great so far. It also looked great the first couple games in Houston. It also looked great the first couple games in Brooklyn as well. He was putting up triple doubles. He's put triple doubles in all those cities. So what about in a year and a half when it's still Joel Embiid's team and it's not James Harden's team? Is James Harden going to now say, well, I love you, Meek Mill, but I'd rather go party with Rose down in Miami? I don't know. All I'm saying is the constant narrative that we've seen throughout James Harden's career, and a great talent, and I really want him to win a championship because I think he's really talented and really skilled. And he's a part of the top 75, so shouldn't he win a championship? But he's been put in these situations where he's a really talented guy with another talented guy that already owns the team. It didn't work for Shaq and Kobe. It worked for a bit. Didn't work. Eventually, one of them had to go. That's all I'm saying.
This goes
James
back
Harden's
to,
best version of himself was in Houston because that was his team.
This goes back to that conversation we were having earlier about the loyalty that a team has to you. James Harden ran into the same problem KD ran into when he went to the Warriors. And this is something I've heard, I think, on the Bill Simmons podcast where he went over this very by detail about the theories, how Harden was trying to make changes in Brooklyn. Harden was trying to do things in Brooklyn like, hey, let's play like this. but he didn't have a voice. And quickly he realized it's not his team. It's KD's and Kyrie's team. And whatever he does, whatever he ever gets done, he's always going to be looked at as a third potato in that situation. So, hey, I want to move. And then he goes on a press conference. I always wanted to be in Philly, this, that, the other. Listen, man, as you said, I'll give it a year and a half until he runs through the same problem where he wants to make a change if it doesn't work. And he's going to realize that's Joel's team. Yeah, there is your guy, Derrick Rose. He's going to kiss your ass every time. Yeah. But you're going to realize that Joel Embiid still has a bigger voice there because he's been there since the beginning. And that's not your team. If he stuck it down in Houston, that would have been his team forever. Because he was there since the beginning. They weren't good when he got there, and he made them good. About the trade, though, I just want to say how at the very beginning we were sitting here talking about how Ben Simmons is not worth the trade for De'Aaron Fox.
Go ahead, but I'm going to rebuttal that. Go ahead.
I just want to say, listen, Daryl Morey, he might not be a genius, but he played it right. Because even throughout the whole combine, this is some noise going on that Joel was trying to get Bradley Beal over to Philadelphia. But that didn't work out, so they went ahead with James Harden. They settled down for James Harden, not for De'Aaron Fox or any of those guys. And I think that wait has paid off. I think the chances are better than if they didn't trade away Ben, or if they traded away for a guy that might not be as worth as James Harden. In a year and a half, I don't know how that's going to pay off, but as of right now, I think that's a win for both teams.
You're right. That's where I heard it from. First of all, the Bill Simmons podcast, that's where I got that from. And you brought up the point with KD. The exact same thing KD went through. KD gets to Golden State, wins 2 championships. This is great. But at the end of the day, it's Steph's team. It's always going to be Steph's team. I want my own team. I'm going to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie. Now, in terms of the trade, I agree. The wait paid off. The wait went well. JoJo wanted Beal. Daryl obviously wanted this guy in James Harden. The reason it worked and the reason it worked so well is not that Ben Simmons' trade value stayed the same or increased, but James Harden's value got worse. Once a player expresses they don't want to be in a situation or with an organization, their value instantly goes down because now it's an asset that doesn't want to be there. I'm going to give you a bag of potato chips because you're going to take it because you don't have any other option. Go ahead.
Well, the other part of that is if somebody makes it public, it gets more known. Like the whole James Harden situation, there was more than smoke going on that this guy might not want to be back here next year. So at some point they had to pull the trigger. And yeah, I agree with your point, but that's what I said I think a few weeks ago where I was like, we don't know what's going to happen with Bradley Beal next summer. We don't know what's going to happen with Dame next summer. All these guys are going to line up not because Ben Simmons' trade value goes up, but because these guys might be disgruntled. These guys might not want to be there. Same thing that happens with James Harden. I think that's the waiting game that paid off. They got a guy who, hey, however you want to look at it, he's a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
I think that's a win-win. And for Brooklyn, we don't even know what Ben Simmons is going to look like, but as of right now, they got Seth Curry and they got Drummond. And Drummond, man, listen, I said that in the offseason. I don't know why he signed with the Sixers. He should have signed with the Nets right away. Yeah, they needed a starting center.
Yeah, that's true.
But now he got there, and he's looking pretty good, if you ask me.
Yeah, that fit will be nice. That fit will be nice, especially when you got, like you mentioned, Seth Curry there as well. And we're talking shooters. Cam Thomas has elevated his game as well. Kyrie, when KD comes back, when Ben Simmons comes back. Yeah, no, they're going to be a scary team for sure. I really want to see Joel win a championship. We'll get into the MVP conversation here shortly, or maybe the next recording. Yeah, like I just don't know how long it's gonna last. That's all. And I kind of brought it up tongue in cheek because I think he actually would fit perfectly there. But now that I'm thinking of it, does he run into the same situation if he goes to Miami, or does he fit better in Miami? I think James Harden in Miami is literally the perfect thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's the beard. Maybe it's like Rick Ross's beard and James Harden beard. I'm like, this Miami. But I think it's a perfect fit in Miami. But it also could be very distracting for him. Could be very distracting. Like if I'm Atlanta, I'm never trading for James Harden. Because I know I'm not getting a player. I'm just donating money to the what's it called?
Good for the city. It's good for
what's
the
it called?
community.
what's that strip called that Lou Will got in trouble for?
Oh,
Fantasy City or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, something like
Something like that. But anyways, that's why I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid
Magic
of
City.
Magic City. It's Chris. See how Chris is looking down? He's actually just going through his receipts. He's like,
He's just
I
like,
know it was
yeah.
there.
I was trying to look it up.
Which
Yeah,
one was I
famous.
spent 2 bands on?
I know.
Okay, so essentially those are the trades that happened. Again, there's some small ones in there. Derek White going to the Celtics, Josh Richardson going
That's right.
to the Spurs, Daniel
Magic
Tice going back to
City.
the Celtics, Magic City. Thank you. Are there any other pieces of the trade or parts of trade deadline that you guys want to touch on or speak about? I know Chicago didn't make any trades. How do you feel about that as a Bulls fan? Are you pissed? Because I know we had talked about getting that roving 4 per se on the team.
I'm actually not upset at all.
Okay.
Yes, I am worried for the future. I am worried for the playoffs. But I trust our general manager. I trust our president.
Yeah.
Ack, I think he's going to do great. With the signing of Tristan Thompson, now, listen. Our announcer, the legend, Stacey King, went on and said he's Dennis Rodman comparison. I'm not there with it yet. Listen, he's a Kardashian.
That's a little extreme.
I get the comparison, Kardashian, Dennis Rodman, a little crazy on each side. I get it, but I just want to see it how it's going to play out. As of right now, look, our team's good. If we had to give up Ayo, if we had to give up Kobe, Pat, any of those guys, I would have not been happy. So for us to be able to do this, and look, man, 3 of our best defenders are injured right now, and we're sitting second seed in the West or in the East, and we got all these West Coast trips coming up that I'm not hopeful about. But we're going to see how we're going to get tested in that with DeMar still doing his thing.
I did just check today because, of course, me just being so passionate about the Lakers, I always love to look at the schedule coming up. But no, this is about the Chicago Bulls. I did check to see the hardest schedules for the rest of the way. The Lakers are top 5, but I believe the Bulls are number 2. The Clippers are top 10, and the Raptors, I think, are actually like bottom 10. So you guys have a fairly easy schedule, the Raptors, but yeah, it'll be tough the rest of the way for the Chicago Bulls, but I think obviously they've done a good enough job to put themselves in a position where if they do go through a little bit of a rough patch, they're all right. Where do you guys want to go next in this? Because obviously we just talked about all the trades. Do we want to talk about All-Star? Do we want to talk about there's some injury news, some players maybe coming back, some updates that could affect the playoffs? Where do you guys want to go with this?
I think we just kind of throw it to All-Star, wrap up all of the past events, and then we can get to our current views of the league and what's going to go happen in the second half of the season.
Sounds good. So the NBA All-Star weekend happened, 2 weeks ago? Like I mentioned off the top, it was the 75th anniversary. So when it was the 50th anniversary in 1997, they were in Cleveland, back in Cleveland again. Really cool to see all the guys get together. Obviously, there was some people that weren't able to make it. Most notably, Scottie Pippen. I know he's doing a book tour and he's trying to slander literally every single Chicago Bull. Unfortunately, because he's busy slandering every single Chicago Bull, he's not able to face the music and see those boys, face to face. Even though Michael Jordan is literally pushing the book sales for Scottie Pippen. But we'll move on from that and Scottie Pippen and the love triangle of him and his wife in future. But we will move over. Let's talk about the slam dunk competition.
The what?
Are we going to get to it right away? Damn.
Yeah, I want to get that over with because that might have been the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And shout out to Chris because he didn't have to go through that. I almost fell asleep, first of all, because it took so long and it was just boring. I don't know at what point, well, I guess it was probably 2016, but at some point we stopped putting in good dunkers. I noticed it last year when they had Obi Toppin and Anthony Simons, and I was like, what is this cast of characters? Why are we putting them in? They had Juan Toscano Anderson this year. What is going on? When 6 years ago, we had arguably the best slam dunk competition of all time. Of course, we got the one with Vince, we got Mike jumping from the free throw line, but I would argue the Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon back to back, that was the best slam dunk competition we've ever seen. And now that I'm speaking of it, I know where the moment was. I know what happened where it made every single slam dunk competition after it terrible. You want to know what it was?
What?
When Dwayne Wade and his fucking stupid glasses stood up and gave fucking
meme.
yeah, Aaron Gordon 48 or something like that, and they gave Derrick Jones Jr. a 50, and I'm like, what? That single-handedly ruined slam dunk competitions for the rest of the time, and it won't go back until we put Dwayne Wade on the court and have someone, Aaron Gordon. We need Dwayne Wade to get dunked on by Aaron Gordon to like just remedy everything. That will save everything. But, you know, obviously, like I said, Chris didn't have to put himself through that, but Sivash,
Listen, man,
tell me.
It gets to a point where I get it. The creativity just isn't there anymore. Because think about it, they've been doing the dunk contest for over 20 years. So the options that these players have is repeating these dunks, trying to make like a moment out of some of them. Like, I think this year, one of the players did like a tribute to Jason Richardson. I think it was the Warriors player. And a few years ago, Donovan Mitchell did the Vince Carter with the arm in the basket. Like, it's just like, listen, the honey dip, I guess they call it. It's just at some point the creativity is gone. With the guy Cole Anthony was trying to do it with Tim's. I don't know about that, man. That's like
what do you think is worse? Cole Anthony trying 8 times to do it with Tim's, or whoever it was last year that tried to put a drone and the drone like wouldn't hold onto the ball or something? Do you remember that? That was brutal.
That was
man.
Aaron Gordon like a few years ago. That was the year before the D Wade stuff. It was between the 2016 and the D Wade.
I thought that was after, but wasn't it a delay? Like it took forever to get it. Like that, you can't do that. Like it's an instant gratification thing. You need to take 3 tries at the max, and that's it.
Yeah,
he should have changed Shaq, bro. He was just falling asleep. He's like, man, fuck this shit.
Like Jalen Green. Jalen Green,
that took 20
him and his buddy, bro. Like I don't have time for this.
Yeah,
I got other things I want to do.
So that's
and
the first
thing. 1 a.m.
It's got to be like that. It's got to be hitting. You can't have 20 tries, so we know what you're gonna do. Then the next thing, it's got to bang. You can't do something that's kind of soft. You gotta, if you're gonna go for it, do something that's gonna make that noise and get the crowd going.
I have a suggestion.
Go for it.
How many people do the 3-point competition? Like 8?
Yep.
What if they did 8 for the slam dunk competition, and it was this is the rule. You get 2 tries. For your first dunk, for the qualifying dunk, you get 2 tries. That's it. And if you miss on your second try or whatever your second try is, that's your attempt. And then the next round they take 4. So then it's like you get those preliminary out. I guess that would maybe extend it. That would make the event longer, but it's like it's cutting it down. Like so stupid. But I can remember playing NBA Live 2010 on my PSP and doing this slam dunk competition with Kobe Bryant, and I got 2 tries. And if I didn't fucking get my timing, maybe 3. If I didn't get my timing correct, it's over. I'd have lost, and I had to restart the whole thing because I'm like, I want to win this. I don't want to get fluked out. They need to do that in the NBA because you cannot be giving people 20 tries. We don't have time for this. Like that's terrible. And then people are getting cold. Like you warm up on the side, you're getting cold. Like no. Yeah, they gotta fix that. That's brutal, dude. That's brutal.
They gotta bring.
I would rather they not have the slam dunk competition. What's that?
They gotta bring more props into it. They gotta do something cool, like all right, jump over a car, jump over this, bring people on the court. Like that's more cool. It's like, or I forgot where I heard this. It might have been on the Bill Simmons podcast again. We're giving them a lot of shout out, but I think somebody said they should do a dunking with the stars. Where they try to bring somebody and they try to actually get him to try something new.
And as you were speaking, I just thought of that, and this was a perfect opportunity to do it. It's the 75th anniversary. Like you got guys like Kareem there. You got legends literally there attending the festivities. Take advantage of that. Use them. Use Larry in actually Larry wasn't there, but use Magic in your stunt. Copy Michael, like you said, like you did, like they did with Jay Rich. Like copy these legends that are literally right there, like as an ode to them, as an honor to them. Why did Greg Anthony tell his son, yes, son, I think it's a good idea for you to put on some Timbs, waste 25 minutes of people's time lacing up Timbs just to miss 5 times?
Not even that. 5 minutes of doing the dance. He's just like going
Fuck.
crazy with it for like 5 minutes. It's like, yo, bro, just put on the shoe, do the dunk.
Yeah.
Yo, his pops is just waiting there with the duffel bag, like as he's doing the dance. Like, all right, man, listen, the swagger is cool, but like, let's see the work.
Greg Anthony has had shorter broadcasts than his son's slam dunk attempts.
Oh my
Like
God.
he's called full games going into OT, and he's had shorter broadcasts than him. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, let's move on.
So that was terrible. That was
Brutal.
brutal. But the 3-point competition, I always like the 3-point competition because
Yeah.
All right.
while you think you know the winner, like if Steph's going, you think you know that Steph's gonna win. There's sometimes a little wild card in there that can possibly take it over. So, Chris, did you end up seeing the 3-point competition?
I didn't get to watch it again. All of this stuff happened at like 5 a.m. But I saw like the recap
Sure.
of like this stuff, and I did see that Cat did finally solidify himself as one of the, or if the best 3-point shooting big men in the league. And didn't he set a record? It was like 29 hit shots or something like that.
I'm not sure what the record,
I don't think.
but it was funny that you mentioned about the
Best
greatest shooting big man in the league, because Dirk during like the middle of the broadcast like referred to Cat. He's like, look, that's the best, that kind of sarcastically, look, it's the
Yeah.
greatest shooting big in the league. And I'm thinking like, Dirk, who is probably the greatest greatest shooting big in the league, and he's just like trolling Cat.
No, but I don't
Steve,
know,
Ash,
but,
what were your... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, but I'm pretty sure, he hit like 29 threes or something like that to set a record. Isn't what 30's perfect?
I think so, yeah.
I
He
think
definitely
it's
did not
more
hit
now.
29. He definitely did
Is it
not
fo-
hit. Like
is it
if
40
if
now?
30 is perfect, he definitely did not hit 29.
Because the, what do you call it? The Mountain Dew ball is now
That's
extra
true.
3 points, and the baskets
Yeah.
haven't changed. Like, there's still like 4 racks with a money ball at
Mm.
the end, and then a full money ball rack
Yeah.
at the end. So I think it might be like, I don't know what it is. We can look it up,
Yeah.
but it has to be more than 30 as a max.
I would assume it's
Uh,
5, 10, 15, 20.
Each money ball is
25.
2,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's 10. Each one is 6 after that, so that's 24. It might be 40.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just doing it off the top. We have Google in front of us, and
Maximum score, I think it says, is 34.
that's all right.
Great segment. Listen to 3
No.
and then do math.
No, let's think about it, guys.
Then do
so
math.
you add the 2.
What were your thoughts on it though, Steve Ash? Like, you watched it as well. What were your thoughts
watched
from
it.
watching it?
It was cool.
Yeah.
Definitely disappointed with Zach. I thought he was gonna come out there and smoke it, but he was, he wasn't doing his thing as well as I thought he would. Who was the other guys? Desmond Bain. He did
Luke
it alright.
Kennard.
CJ, Luke. Oh yeah, Luke Kennard
Is it-
smoked that.
I
actually thought he
had
was
bets
gonna
on him.
win.
He had pretty low odds, like pretty good odds, so I took him, but unfortunately he didn't win. But yeah.
Yeah, but again, with the cat stuff, look, you can proclaim yourself as whatever.
Yeah.
You still gotta do something.
Great people that are great at something don't claim it themselves. They have others claim it for them.
Not
Like if you were the
sarcastically.
GOAT of basketball.
What the fuck up, bro?
So then we move to the All-Star
Honestly, I
game.
couldn't hear you there. You had Michael Jordan's dick in there.
Hey,
I don't know.
So then we move on to the All-Star game, and what do you guys like the fourth quarter layout, like how they do that? The
I
best
think it's
score
better than
type thing?
before. The Elam ending is called. Basically, it's just, I think it makes it more exciting. That whole last
Mhm.
bucket by LeBron.
That's true.
If it was time, we just don't know. We just gotta wait for the time to run up. But for him to have the ball, and just if he misses that, the next bucket can win it all. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's
The
true.
one thing,
That's true.
Yeah.
the one thing we didn't talk about, the skill, or what is it called, the rookie challenge or
Skills-
whatever on
oh
Friday.
yeah, rookie, yeah. Showcase.
That one had the same thing. But I think they got to make it, if you're in the last few points, if the next bucket can win it, you can't have free throws. I think that ruins it.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah,
'Cause
free
then
throws.
you can
would-
just like foul somebody. Like, it should be like a street ball. In the last
yeah,
point,
there should be
you
no
just-
free throws in an All-Star game.
If it's in the last quarter, I think no free throws. Just keep checking up the ball,
Sure.
and that's how you're gonna play it. Because if you imagine you go into a basket, you try to hunt for a foul, you get that, and you just hit one free throw, it's over. I don't like that. Go get a bucket.
That's true. That's true.
I saw that. I definitely thought he was gonna miss. And it's like, you're gonna win this on free throws. Like, no, you're fucking
That'd be
done.
brutal. That'd be so.
Like, you
tough.
fucking suck.
Should we talk about MJ's fun tour at the
MJ was
halftime
having
with
a great
All-Star?
time, man.
Bro,
MJ
my
was
guy
having a
was
great
lit.
And you know what? I think I thought about it afterwards.
You want to gamble?
Michael, yeah, no, Michael traditionally like I think. So LeBron said, you know, it's nice to meet with Mike and talk with Mike because we're very rarely in the same building. And I think he meant that literally, but also figuratively in terms of GM and player. Mike's a retired legend. He's a GOAT of the game, but he's also an owner of a team. So he's not like I was thinking of Larry Bird, and I know Larry Bird's not with the Pacers anymore, but he was coaching at the time. But he's not like Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman has no affiliation with a team, so maybe that's a rarity why Mike's out and about all the time. However, I think the passing of Kobe really affected Mike. Obviously, affected a lot of people, us three on the podcast. And I think because of that, both him and Shaq more outwardly, have realized that, like, I got to spend time with these guys. Like, we have a passion. We have a similar passion. We're excited about this one thing. We both played it. We're all great. You know, I should take more time out to spend more time with some of these guys. Because unfortunately, you never know how much time you have. And I think, again, losing Kobe was a big wake-up call for both Shaq and Mike. But I think that's why Mike was a lot more like, you know, he's talking to Luka. He's chopping it up with Luka. He's chopping it up with Steph. He's with LeBron. Like, you know, I think it did affect him. So,
you guys saw
not
Isiah
to the fact
Thomas.
where he needed to pet Steph's head. I didn't agree with that, but I don't tell people what they should or shouldn't.
You saw Isiah Thomas going up to Magic and trying, you know,
That was
hate.
hilarious. That was hilarious.
Bro, that voiceover when the dude, like, when Magic goes like this back to MJ and dude's doing a voiceover like, yo, he's still hating. It's just great.
It's funny to me because why? I don't get it. Like, I don't know. There must be something deeper because, like, Isiah didn't, like, Isiah, Magic, Mike, and Isiah didn't even, like, try to converse with him. Like, and then obviously when he laughed, like, Magic and Mike were kind of like talking and laughing and stuff, but it's just like, why? Like, I don't know. Eventually, like, you gotta let bygones speak bygones, and I don't know. I think he's probably still messed up about the.
Oh, he's still mad. You see him go on a whole tour about how, like, MJ's not the GOAT.
But oh my god, like, and that's what I say to people. I'm like, Bill Laimbeer said the exact same thing 2 months ago. Do you want to know the similarity between Bill Laimbeer and Isiah Thomas? Both on the bad boy Pistons that had a rival against Michael Jordan. Like, of course, like, you know what I mean? Like, why not? Of course he's gonna do that. But no, it was just funny to me because, like, I don't get why he's, like, not talking to Mike. Like, just let it go. And it's clearly funny because Magic and Mike are laughing about it. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just petty to me. Petty to me.
Probably something from The Last Dance, you know, the whole clip about Isiah going, like, I met all the criteria, but I wasn't picked for the
but it wasn't just
USA
Mike,
team.
though. Magic didn't want him either. Scotty didn't want him either. And Magic and him had beef too, but they squashed it. But, like, Magic didn't want him either. Larry didn't want him. Like, because you want to know why? The fucking bad boy Pistons and Isiah Thomas pissed off a lot of people. A lot of those guys that were on the team. Sorry. Larry's got more pull than you. Sorry. Magic's got more pull than you. Michael's got more pull than you. And honestly, probably a hot take. I'd have to remember what year it was because I think it was 94 or 93. Scotty probably had more pull than you
And Isiah
on that
Thomas?
dream team. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Like, I'm sorry, bro, but you pissed off everybody on that team.
Mm-hmm.
That was your culture. I get it. Like, Bill Laimbeer was part of it. Joe Dumars, legend, was a part of it. Dennis Rodman was a part of it. But at some point, Dennis Rodman joined the Bulls. They were able to figure it out. How come Isiah hasn't? I don't know.
It's just that old man hate, bro. That old people, you know, I hate each other. That's not gonna get solved easy, bro.
I talked to my mom about that because she'll talk about, like, how there's a group that are, like, after church they go out for lunch or whatever, but they used to be one group and now there's this two group. And I tell my mom, I'm like, why are, like, my mom's not a part of it, but I'm like, why are they complaining? I'm like, they're 80 years old. They're gonna die soon. They got more light behind them than they got ahead of them. Why? Like, just bury your fucking problems. Like, I don't get it, man.
It's the old man ego.
Someone change the topic because I'm like,
This guy getting fired up.
So
it's
so
not even
the
fired. I'm
Clippers.
just getting like what? Yeah, the Clippers.
Yeah.
You know what? Shout out to you because I was just
pump
watching before we recorded this episode, I was just watching the last episode, and you were talking about Rocco and Rocco's addition to the Clippers. And you mentioned he's a good 3-and-D guy. You thought the fit would be very good with the Clippers, and I've been watching, and it's been extremely good. And I pray this man resigns with us next year. I pray, because he is so good, man. He is so good. Like, I can't remember who they were. It was the Lakers. They were just playing the Lakers, and it's crunch time, and it's got a guard, and the Clippers are good at defense. But then I was like, okay, like, who's going against Braun? Like, there's no Kawhi, there's no PG. Norman Powell's not a defensive guy, but we wouldn't put him on it anyways. And so you see, I forget what the moment was, but Robert Covington's like calling him out basically to come at him, and Rocco shut him down. Rocco was able to switch on from Braun to Russ and to Dwight. Like, I love it. I love him as a fit. I think this Clippers team, if it stays as constructed and they bring back a guy, Rocco, you got Ty Lue, you got Jerry West, who's willing to, or not Jerry West, you got Steve Ballmer, is willing to spend any amount of money. Jerry West is also a great guy in the organization, and the Clippers treat him better than the Lakers ever did.
My God, this guy.
Before we get into the second part
of the Lakers, hate the Bucks.
Exactly.
Dude, are you kidding me? The
bro,
fucking disrespect that they showed Jerry West is disgusting.
No, sometimes when I'm going through Twitter, I honest to God think like, yo, when did I start following Skip Bayless? I'm like, oh wait, it's Tobias, and I'm like, okay,
I'm on Clippers Twitter. That's why. That's all I see. Stuff.
Nah, bro, hold up. We gotta have intervention, because I was gonna come in this episode and talk about this, because I go on your Instagram on the stories. This guy dedicated 3 slides to the Lakers. Like, bro, you gotta chill, man.
I did, bro.
What are you guys doing? Like, yo,
because
Pat Bev is not even on the team no more.
You know what did
Pat Bev is not even on your team no more, man.
It has nothing to do with it.
But what did Drake say? See, what, haters just love and jealousy at the same time? Like,
I know, bro. It's like they can't let go of the Lakers, bro. It's like they're.
Trust me.
This is Tobias's old man hate.
It is.
I promise you, I'm not jealous of the Lakers due to where they sit in the playoffs currently, the roster they have constructed, and how terrible each game is. But more so, to speak on Jerry West, the disrespect that they show to the organization's legends, the league's legends, and the guys that built half the championships that they own. Jerry West ran the Lakers and got Kobe on the Lakers, and that dynasty that was the early 2000s Lakers is Jerry West. Jerry West was a coach and in management during Magic and Kareem. Jerry West was a player when he was with fucking Wilt Chamberlain back in the day. So why are you turning into James Dolan and the New York Knicks, disrespecting your legends that have built the dynasty that you currently have? Evoking Jerry West tickets to the organization and locking him out of the building, locking him out of the Lakers facilities. That's fucking disgusting, bro.
Okay, but whose decision was that? Was that LeBron's decision?
It has nothing to do with LeBron. I'm talking about the Lakers. I'm not talking about LeBron, though. I'm talking about the Lakers. I did not mention LeBron at all.
You
I'm
had a
talking about
whole
the
thing
Lakers.
about like Russ and LeBron. It was like, the Russ stopped talking.
Yeah, but then we moved on to Jerry West, and I was talking about the disrespect that the organization showed Jerry West.
No disagreement there. No disagreement.
Yeah.
That's some clown shit. Like,
it is.
You gotta respect your players. Same thing they did with Charles Oakley in the Garden.
Exactly.
Everybody was pissed at that shit. Like, come on, Oakley's a New York legend, NBA legend. So no disagreement there. As an organization, listen, you guys have this little rivalry that you guys have in your head with the Lakers because you guys are in the same city.
It's not, and just so you know, you're previewing it as if it's only a rivalry that the Clippers have, because Lakers fans buy tickets to Clippers games when Lakers aren't even there, so the Lakers fans can boo the Clippers teams. So
that sounds like something they should do.
But no, listen, they can't see their own team win, so they might as well go see our team win.
Well, that's the thing. I'm asking you to have that energy. Like, listen, you guys are below us. We're just gonna focus on our thing, and then get a win, then be able to tell them that. As a Clippers,
we're ahead of them. We are ahead of them.
Yeah, but don't talk down to them. Just go do something first, and then
I
talk
have
down.
to though, bro. Because the elementary school kids that cheer for the Lakers, I need to talk down to them. They have preschool education. They have preschool education, bro. It's terrible. Because they're talking about trading LeBron. Trading LeBron. Trading
Yo,
he's not going
no,
well.
we
Like,
gotta
oh
get
my
to that.
God, bro. That's so toxic, dude. And I'm a Leafs fan. That's so toxic. Trade LeBron. Fire Frank. Get rid of Rob. Team's not doing good. Like,
This
come
is
on,
the
bro.
funniest thing that's been happening
Excuses.
last week.
Excuses everywhere. Excuses everywhere. Your team's just bad. Your team's bad. It's okay. It's okay.
We're gonna get to that part in the second part of the episode because the whole LeBron being traded and Anthony Davis being
That's
traded.
so
When you don't have
dumb,
a pick
bro.
for the next 5 years, that's just stupid. Don't even
Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Right?
Figure it out.
But let's talk about your Pat Bev situation, man. So, like, Russell Westbrook is an MVP, a top 75 player. Pat Bev has all this energy, but, like, what's going on, man? Like, Pat Bev, what has he done in the past few years? Talk to us.
What do you mean?
What I mean is Pat Bev going on his Twitter and saying how Russ has been tricking us all these years. Meanwhile, the guy was an MVP. Pat Bev
No, but he was
talking all that
refer-
shit, right?
Yeah, he was just referring to the old tweet that Russell had, or the old interview that Russell had.
He tricked us. I get that. But Pat Bev, what has he done? You can't just let for somebody get down while you haven't done much, right?
He's on a team with a winning record, and Los Angeles Lakers don't have a winning record.
That's all Pat Bev is doing, though. He just rides the coattails of the more.
That's
successful
okay.
team.
I know,
That's okay.
right?
Where were the Timberwolves last year? Where were the Timberwolves last year? I don't know. Not in the playoffs. Russ is there. Russ was not on the Lakers last year. 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 Russ was not on the Lakers last year, and they made the play-in. Right now, they might not make the play-in, and Russ is on the team.
They changed
Pat
the
Bev
management.
was not on
They
the team
changed
last year.
coach.
Now they're going on the play-in.
Bro, correlation is not a fact. Like, it's just like they changed the coach, the organization, like they changed everything.
I'm that guy. I'm that guy in the documentary, the security guard.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. I just honestly, I pray for the city of LA and I pray for Lakers. Because if they miss the playoffs, that'll be very bad. That'll be very bad for them. That'll be very bad.
If they miss playoffs?
The Clippers? Yeah, I think that would be.
No, the Lakers.
Oh,
They miss the playoffs.
City will.
If the Clippers miss the playoffs,
yeah, no one's gonna bat it.
I mean, they're an above 500 team, and they've not had Kawhi. They haven't had Paul George for half the season. They got Norm Powell, and two days later he got injured. I think they're doing all right.
No, I think they're doing great, and I think
it is. It actually is. I wrote
Kawhi,
down. I have Norm Powell injured.
Like,
LOL.
Like what do you think is a worse curse? The Madden cover curse or the Clippers curse?
I think it's the Clippers, man.
Bad.
I think it's the Clippers. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George.
I feel
Houston,
for Clippers fans just because of that. It's like y'all get something good, and like the ball is rolling, and all of a sudden it's just like boom. Sorry, no. Here's an injury.
It's a voodoo
crazy,
for sure.
Bro.
It's
definitely. It's like think about like even this year, if they get Kawhi and PG back, look, man, that's a tough team to beat.
Super tough team.
I don't think they're getting Kawhi back this year. Paul George, they might. They just had an MRI. He might come back in March. Personally, I would rather just shut the three of them down. Just don't bring him back. We'll come back in October and we'll be good. That's my personal opinion.
Is there anybody on an expiring contract? Are they going to be able to bring back everybody?
I think they will, to be honest with you, because Reggie Jackson was the big issue last year. Let me just pull it up. But Reggie Jackson was the big issue last year, and they ended up able to bring him back.
Because think about the team they got. I mean, outside of like a center, and I think Isaiah Hartenstein and like Zubac have been great. But if they can bring in another center, outside of that roster is tough, man. Like Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, as you mentioned, Reggie Jackson. All these guys are solid. And now all the role players with Rocco and Norman Powell, that's a tough team.
Rocco, Harkenstein, Amir Coffey. That's it.
Those are the expirings?
Yeah.
Rocco and another center, you good.
Amir Coffey. Yeah, I would really like to see them get a playmaking point guard. Right now they got Reggie Jackson at the point, that's it. They're trying Terrence Mann there. He's fine, but he's not really a point guard. He's not really a playmaker. I'd like to see them get a playmaker. Doesn't have to be anything big. I just need a decent role player to just fit in, play defense, and pass.
The return of Rajon Rondo?
I don't know. I don't think he really liked his time with us. I think he like was an informant like for the Lakers because he was the Lakers, goes to Clippers, goes right back to Lakers. I'm like, there's an issue here. You just told them our secrets.
My
All right.
God.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nobody really off the top of my head that I can think of that I'd like here. I maybe like I don't know. Yeah, I literally can't even think of someone.
That's right.
So I did just mention the news about PG and his MRI possibly returning in March. News I just heard before we started recording, which is positive. I don't know if it's going to happen, but there is a possibility that both Jamal Murray and MPJ could be ready for the NBA playoffs. Pretty cool. That would be pretty awesome. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that would make Denver very interesting because Jokic is doing his thing by himself. So if they add MPJ and Jamal Murray, that's very interesting for them. That's honestly similar to a team like Brooklyn. They're good as they are, and then they're adding KD, and then they're adding Kyrie, and then they're adding Ben Simmons. So, yeah, it could only benefit them, hopefully.
Listen, man, if they can get those two guys back, I got them going to the finals. That's a tough team to beat. Imagine the Suns trying to beat them. Every team, you look at every team, the Warriors, the Suns, Memphis, every team you get down, it's like, man, who's going to be able to guard Jokic and then be able to facilitate with everybody else on the court?
Do you guys think, because now that I look at it, and I look at like the really good teams in the league, the teams that were like, these are possibly, bless you, these are the teams that are possibly like league winners. Do you think the return of the dominant big is back? Because for a time, we ran through guards and forwards, and there was no bigs. Bigs dominated the league in the early 2000s, Chris Webber, Shaq, Tim Duncan, Dirk, all those guys. But do you think the return of the big is back? Because now we're talking about Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, DeAndre Ayton, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do you think that the big man is back? And do you think, I guess we'll see this year, but do you think you need to have a dominant big man to win an NBA title in this era? Chris?
Gosh, because like I'm thinking of like the two, like the big men, like you say, like comparing to Shaq and Duncan, all that stuff. The big men nowadays are like
They're very much more
obvious-
mobile, right?
they're very much more mobile, and that's something thing. It's almost like you've combined the skills of like a guard and a big man, and it's like boom, now you've got the big man of today, and it's almost like the
It's
big
like
man,
this.
yeah.
And I say this very, very lightly, so please don't cancel me for saying this. It's like
He's gonna say the N-word, people.
centers nowadays are a light version of Hakeem Olajuwon in terms of their footwork, their movement, their ability to pass the ball and score. Right? We're not seeing guys like Shaq. Shaq, very dominant, but couldn't shoot. Didn't really have the greatest footwork, right? Hakeem did. Joel, great comparison with Hakeem. Jokic, has the footwork, has the passing. Maybe not a guy like DeAndre Ayton. We still need to see more from him. But I think about, we look at a team in the West, a really good team in the West. How does Golden State match up against a team with a dominant big? Because they don't have a dominant big. They do have the scoring and the guards, but when it comes to a 7-game series, let's just say finals is Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers and Golden State Warriors. How does Golden State control Joel Embiid?
But do they
Especially if you have a pick and roll option with James Harden.
Do they need to control Joel Embiid though, with all the other like options that they have?
I don't know, because I just watched a Philadelphia game and Joel had like 37 points and went to the free throw line 28 times. And he was 26 for 28 from the free throw. It was kind of like, it reminded me of Shaq. I was like, they don't know what to do. They can't stop this guy, because if they try to stop him, they foul him. He goes to the line. If they don't, he scores. I just wonder how a team, let's just use Golden State for example, takes on the Joel Embiid factor. Or a team like, I don't want to use Chicago because Chicago, while not of the same caliber, has a big center. But how does a team like, give me a team in the East that doesn't have a good center. I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but How does a team like the Nets, they have a lot of scoring, but how does a team like the
Untrue.
Nets combat against the Jokic? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Is the big a really massive factor? Is it your pushover in terms of winning a championship? Because
This
every
goes
team has
to-
guards. Every team has scoring guards, but not every team has a dominant big like that.
Mm-hmm.
This was something I was going to bring up when we came to our MVP conversation because
Sure.
it's
We
a
can save it
conversation I've
then.
been- if you want, yeah. But
Sure.
just to go quickly over it, if you were the Warriors, you just got to throw a body at Embiid and just try to beat them on offense by dragging Embiid out of the paint every
Yeah.
time. And just make him exhausted by having to guard multiple pick and rolls, get him involved in those defenses. So then on the other side, you just throw a body at him and maybe try to zone it up and try to get him not be in the paint on a one-on-one situation because I don't think there's anybody that can stop him in that situation.
So your thought is to isolate him outside of the paint and just make him tired throughout the game. That way, when it comes to the second half, he's just
Constant pick and roll.
fatigued.
Hey, who's
Okay.
who's Embiid guarding? Come over here. If I'm Steph, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Run a pick and roll high off top. If Embiid doesn't step up, that's a shot. If he steps up, that's a switch.
Mhm.
Good luck trying to guard that for 48 minutes again.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Chris, any thoughts on that? On how to, how the big could possibly dominate the playoffs?
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I was gonna kind of like, obviously not as technical as C, but it's just, yeah, if you have like a big man like Joel, if you just essentially try to tire him out or just, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like double the man, just do what you can to slow him down. Because you don't necessarily need to stop him. You
Sure.
just need to kind of contain him for a period of time,
Yeah.
just so he kind of loses maybe some of that effectiveness or that one-on-one power down there in the post, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
again, don't shut him down completely, just do what you can type
Yeah.
of thing, and then let everything else kind of fall into place. So
Okay.
I don't think it's like necessarily like something that's needed to push teams like over the edge.
Okay.
You know?
Cool. Well, there it is. I don't know if we're closing out and bringing it back, but if we aren't, this will be awkward for you when you're listening. But thanks for listening to the Lob It Up podcast. There's a lot of information that we threw at you today with trades. Me just being so fucking passionate about the Lakers. Jealousy and love at the same time. Also, we talked about the All-Star. Mike's. I don't know. Maybe he was on some wacky tobacco or something. Maybe he was just Where was it in Cleveland? Is weed legal in Cleveland?
Listen, bro. There's nothing to do in Cleveland. The man just got drunk and went to the event and then got a PJ and was out of there.
All right. So with that being the case, we'll catch you in the next one where we will start to break down the MVP conversation and maybe talk about a few of the other awards because there's definitely something I want to talk about when it comes to Coach of the Year. So with that being said, thanks for listening and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Okay, I have to pee.